What's going on, football fanatics fans? This is a new show. I'm glad to have you guys here. If you could leave a big like and a subscribe, that would be very appreciated. Down below in the subscription, we will have timestamps. Again, I mentioned this in the other video, but if you haven't seen that one yet, we're doing a new thing, which is different from our other videos, which we did 2 divisions at a time. For example, we did AFC East and NFC East. Both in one video. Now we're doing them all separate, so I think this is going to work out a bit better, so the videos aren't as long, but we still will leave timestamps below, and we will leave links to our other videos so you can get to those if you can't find them easily. As for today, we are doing the NFC North, which composes of the Minnesota Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, the Chicago Bears, and the Detroit Lions. We will start with the Minnesota Vikings this time. And last year, disappointing season, especially from 2 seasons ago to what they did last season. And at the beginning of the season, they beat the Packers, and they started out, 5-0? Yeah, 5-0. So it seemed like they were going to be really good. And I thought, when they first got Sam Bradford, I was like, I thought they gave up too much for him. Mm-hmm. But then it started to look good, 5-0, and then they finished, 6-10, 7-9, 7-9, right?
They were 8-8.
Oh, 8-8, my bad, 8-8. So just to finish the season out 3-8, just not good. So we'll start with Eric here though, record and roster.
So my record is 6-10. I have them falling back a little bit. I want to start off and say Laquan Treadwell was probably the biggest disappointment last year.
Yeah.
I had high hopes for that guy. I watched him in college. Thought he was not a phenom, but I thought he was going to transition really well and be really big for that offense, and he did literally nothing.
And quick question, do you remember when they had him going to the Cowboys over Elliott at times? Yeah.
I saw that he had, 1 reception last year?
Yeah, for 7 yards.
Yeah,
or something
I was like,
yeah.
He just underperformed by so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you looked at everything. The people on NFL.com were predicting him for 800 yards and 5 TDs, and he did nothing close to that. But from that, Adam Thielen came on and did amazing. So, I mean, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, that's a good 1-2 punch, in my opinion.
Stephon Diggs is good.
Their O-line really needs to improve. It's run. I mean, they're a decent pass offensive line, but their run offensive line is horrible. Horrible. And the fact that you added Latavius Murray, I thought was really, really bad. He's a guy who, on Oakland, was only really good at falling into the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
They even had Jalen Richard start running between the 20s because he was just so bad at it. He had fumbling issues. So, to me, the pickup of Latavius Murray wasn't really needed, mostly when they went and took Dalvin Cook in the draft. So, to me, the whole Latavius Murray thing was just kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
I understand when you guys getting rid of AP. I mean, it was sad because you don't ever want to see AP on another team. He's so iconic on the Vikings. But it was very needed because Dalvin Cook. I kind of wish you guys kept AP and drafted Dalvin Cook, had him learn behind AP a little bit, but I guess he can learn behind Latavius Murray.
Yeah, really their best offensive lineman is former 49er Alex Boone. So, and they lost Aldon Smith, who they had for a year, really, and went back to the Bengals. So, really not a strong offensive line. James.
Yep, I have them going 8-8, repeating last year's record. I mean, their defense is good. I mean, I watched it suffocate Aaron Rodgers week 2 last year. Wasn't the best game.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
Minnesota.
Their offense has good pieces. Like Eric was saying, Thielen, Diggs, and then you have Rudolph at the tight end.
Yeah.
Even your number 3 is Jarius Wright. He's not bad.
He's not bad, yeah.
And then running backs, Dalvin Cook could be, in the future, could be a top 10 back. And Latavius Murray, I could see him more of a goal line back, maybe 500 yards, but 10 TDs, something like that. But, I mean, we've said it before in the show a lot. Today's NFL is a passing league. And with the check-down captain over here, Sam Bradford, I mean, you're not going to go too far. I mean, I think once Teddy Bridgewater, if he's able to return, I think you're going to see Minnesota becoming a big threat in the NFC. So.
And I do believe they lost Cordarrelle Patterson. Not that that's a big deal or anything. Yeah, not that that's a huge loss, but
I think it is.
Dynamic returner.
Yeah. Stanley.
I have them going 8-8. I feel like the loss of Adrian Peterson is going to hurt him.
Okay.
I mean, the dude's a beast. The Saints got him now. The Saints will be dynamic. But their defense is good. I'll give them that. But I mean, you said Alex Boone's good. I think the dude,
I didn't say he's good. I said that was their best
Yeah.
offensive lineman.
the dude's
But,
something
yeah.
else. I mean, their offensive line's not good, I don't feel like. And Sam Bradford, he was in my division before. Not good at all. He makes indecisive decisions. He feels pressured, throws the ball into coverage.
Plus, there's injury concerns. I mean, when he was on the Rams, he tore his ACL, once, twice?
I think it was
Twice at least.
So, I mean, there are injuries. I mean, you spent a lot of capital to get him,
Like first and fourth. Or
and
something.
he's pretty injury prone. So, I mean,
He's always been injury prone.
not last year. Last year he did awesome. Not awesome, but he did awesome wise in the injury wise. He didn't get hurt at all. But I mean, there is a big question mark there. He could get hurt again.
I think the offensive line with the Rams just absolutely brutal for him. So, then you saw him with the Eagles for one season. He was all right, solid, right?
Game manager.
Game manager, for sure. Just with the Vikings, I don't think he ever got in rhythm. Like, even when they're 5-0, it seemed like he was still trying to learn the playbook almost, you know? So
it was just Adrian Peterson, so.
Well, it was more
Yeah,
their
he was-
defense was a carry.
Everson Griffin and all those guys. Yeah, the
Honestly,
best
their quarterbacks were good, too.
The quarterbacks were good.
Honestly, they
Xavier
should have
Rhodes.
just tanked and got like a top 5 pick.
You think they should have tanked, though? New stadium, I mean, they had been
they
so
could've
good the year
drafted
before.
somebody like
Chargers got a new
Trubisky.
stadium.
No, that's not really a new
We
stadium, but
didn't know at the time we were going for.
I mean,
Yeah.
but they could have got like a Corey Davis or a Mike Williams to add into that receiving mix. And now, I mean, they didn't even actually. Never mind, they didn't even have a first round pick. They traded to Philly.
they
So,
traded it to Philly,
actually,
yeah.
I mean,
I think he would have done nothing besides help.
They did get Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
It's not a great draft for the Vikings this year. I have them going 6-10. I think they'll be worse than last year. Again, their offensive line isn't good. Teddy Bridgewater isn't there, and I don't think they'll start off 5-0 again. So really, 5 of those wins and finishing. I think the 3-8 was really the reality of that team. So I think they'll be 6-10, more so than a 5-0 start leading them to 8-8. But next we'll go to, you guys have anything else on the Vikings? We're good. Okay, so next we're gonna go to the Green Bay Packers, who last year went 10-6, but towards the end of the year really caught fire. We'll have James, who's a Green Bay Packers fan, start off this one.
Besides the Cardinals shirt.
well, you know, when your parents are fans of the team, you got to represent them a little bit. So. But at heart, I'm a Packers fan. And I have them going 12-4 and winning the division. I mean, you look at them last year; they started off horrendous. The big game I look at was when they played Washington in Washington and got blown out 42-28, and then they came back and played Philly in that Monday night game and beat them like 28-13. And I really look at their additions to see why they improved by 2 wins. They added Kevin King and Devon House, and I mean, look at their cornerbacks last year. It was Ladarius Gunter, Demarius Randall,
yeah.
Quentin Rollins. I mean, the list goes on. This gives you 2 solid cornerbacks that could potentially match up against someone like a Julio Jones. And we saw that 80-something yard touchdown last year in that game. And Marty B, it makes a dynamic offense even more special. I mean, great year.
What I like, though, is they don't really, I mean, I don't like they don't have a star corner, but they have a lot of guys who do different things. So you can really rotate around on different aspects of different offenses that they go against. Really kind of confusing offenses. So I like that a lot. Talk a little bit about the Seahawks game last year where they had all those interceptions. What did you like out of the defense?
Well, those interceptions were more about drop passes.
Yeah.
I mean, we had one legit one, which Demarius Randall, it was like a fly route and he undercut it. I mean, Demarius Randall's, this is a huge year for him. I mean, he came out, played great as a rookie, had like 5 or 6 picks. Last year, the first time they played Julio, he got torched and then got torched again in the championship game. I mean, this is his boom or bust year. If he does great, you see the Packers potentially lock him up, but if he has another dismal year, he'll be gone and out of the league. So,
all right, we'll go to Eric next.
All right, well, one of the people you didn't mention who I think is wicked underrated is Clinton Dix.
Oh, yeah.
People talk about Landon Collins all the time on the Giants. This guy, I mean, is just like him. He's a great, great safety. He's one of the better safeties in this league, and he's just not talked about at all. I do love the Kevin King pick. I thought he was one of the biggest steals of the draft. Him falling.
They got at the top of the second round.
Yeah, him falling to day 2 was insane to me. I thought he was going to go to probably any team, probably from 25 up. I thought
He's what, 6'2", maybe?
6'3", I believe.
6'3",
Yeah.
very tall.
I thought once the 25th pick hit, I was like, any of these teams can draft him.
Yeah.
All these teams need him, and no one took him. And I was like, all right, that's kind of insane. I think the defense definitely improved. The thing I like most about them is they have 3 great receivers who can all catch the ball. When Rodgers runs out of the pocket, instantly they all know different routes to go on to help. Their O-line, yes, took some bumps this offseason, losing T.J. Lang and J.C. Treader.
Yeah.
But they have decent people there who can step up and still help that O-line. So I don't knock them back for that. And I do have them going 12-4 and winning this division.
Yeah, I have them going 12-4 too. I love the Kevin King addition, and just overall, I really like that team. Aaron Rodgers definitely has got more years to go, and just overall, he's just a very good team, very good roster. Wide receivers is definitely a strength. Offensive lines is definitely a strength. Quarterback, running back, all those are strengths. Everything on the offense is a strength, really. But the defense is the question mark. But again, like we saw last year, some teams, the defense will be average, but their offense can't carry them.
Mm-hmm.
The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers are really both teams who have such good offenses, they can carry them over the defense. So I think the Packers are more so than that than the Steelers, because I think Aaron Rodgers is a lot better than Ben Roethlisberger. So I like the Packers roster a lot. I've got them going 12-4. So 2 wins better than last year.
I do want to say, though, both the Steelers and the Packers, they both very enhancedly improved their defenses this offseason.
Yeah.
So their offenses won't have to carry them as much this year, but the defense on both sides definitely got enhanced this year.
I also want to talk about the tight end position for the Packers.
Yeah.
What's the situation that they got? Richard Rodgers, they got Lance Kendricks, they got Martellus Bennett. I mean, they got so many tight ends that could actually just...
Martellus Bennett is the obvious starter here.
Yes, yeah.
With, I believe, Lance Kendricks will come in and Richard Rodgers will come in when it's blocking. Richard Rodgers is going to come in when it's that 1 yard line and they're going to fake it. It's going to be a pump pass.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to see that a lot. Martellus Bennett's going to be the guy who's, when you're going between the 20s and you're even in the red zone, I think he's going to be there. You could easily see the Packers, though, run they are so diverse on that offense, where you could run Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, and have Marty B and Lance Kendricks on the inside, and that right there is just so... How are you going to cover that? I mean...
I'm very excited for the offense this year, and hear me out, I'm not going to explain it, but I think that both, not just one, but both, I think Richard Rodgers and Lance Kendrickson both sneakily have 2 to 3 touchdowns this year. Or 4. 3, 4, 2, 3. I think they can both get that. Maybe not a lot of yards, but I think they'll get the touchdowns there. Anything else on the Packers?
Yeah, they're going to go 13-3.
Okay.
Since you guys skipped me.
I forgot my bad. So 13-3.
13-3, I feel like Martellus Bennett's going to be a game changer for him. Because look at what he did for the Patriots.
Yep.
He practically carried that system.
Okay.
He did step up when Gronk was out. When Gronk got injured, Martellus Bennett did. And he was
a big part of that team.
And he was injured for part of that time, and he played through injuries to help that team. And, I mean, not to say that team needed help, because, I mean, they are great by themselves. But, I mean, he enhanced that offense a little bit.
All right, so we'll go to the Chicago Bears this time, and we'll start with Stanley, not being forgotten this time. So we'll start with Stanley. The Bears.
I have them going 2-14. I feel like they're going to be the worst team in the league this year.
Okay, bold, but actually not that bold.
Really.
Not that bold.
Yeah, their team's
pretty bad.
It's bad.
It's awful. They'd be lucky to score 10 points on the Packers this year.
The Packers do. Okay. The quarterback situation, Mike Glennon, you think he's going to be the starter?
I like Mike Glennon.
You like Glennon? For that money, though?
Not for that money. Definitely not for that money. But I like Mike Glennon and the fact that when he played for Tampa Bay, he wasn't horrible.
Yep.
And then they went out and got Jameis, and he sat back. And then they refused to trade him for years. They just didn't want to trade him. So I think now that he has a chance to start, I mean, it sucks that they got Trubisky, and he knows that this is basically like his only year starting until.
And he publicly said that Mike Glennon is the starter.
Yeah.
He's said that. So, James.
I have them going 2-14, but I think their like roster is better than their record reflects.
Okay.
I mean, you look at their defense; it does have holes, but I mean, they have Kyle Fuller, they have Danny Trevathan, Leonard Floyd.
They got Prince Amukamara.
Yep, Prince Amukamara. Jarrell Freeman.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a solid team, But, I mean, they're too inexperienced.
Pernell McPhee as well, right?
Yeah, in that linebacking core.
Very good, yeah. Leonard Floyd and
Yeah, no, they're crazy. I think they have one of the like a top 10
best
linebacking core.
That's
in the
always
league,
been
yeah.
them. That's the Bears.
Well, yeah,
They've always
Brian
had
Urlacher, Lance Briggs back in the day. But I mean, Mike Lennon, he really hasn't played full time in 2 or 3 years, so it's hard for me to believe that he's gonna lead these guys to 6 or 7 wins. Like Eric was saying, he's pretty much a placeholder for Trubisky, but I do like the weapons they have. They have Zach Miller. They signed Deion Sims.
Yep.
They have Cameron Meredith, who will be great
Yep.
when Trubisky's finally starting, and even if what's that guy from West Virginia they drafted?
Kevin White.
Kevin White,
Yeah.
the guy who can't stay healthy. If he can finally stay healthy, he'll be all right too.
Yeah.
So.
What was your record for them?
2-14.
2-14. I have 2-14 as well. Do you have 2-14?
I also have 2-14.
Yeah,
I literally have in one word. It just
Across
says,
the board.
It just says ass.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, but the only saving grace for this team right now is that their O-line is probably one of the like top 6.
Yeah, sitting.
It is a very good O-line, so I mean they will be able to keep gunning up. My problem with them is I love Meredith. He's like a younger Alshon Jeffrey, I'll say.
okay.
But Kevin White hasn't been able to stay healthy, and even when he's been on the field, I haven't seen the flashes from him yet to show that he can be a good wide receiver in this league. I need to see that this year from him, that he can, 1, stay healthy, and 2, that he can show those flashes of being a good number 2, possibly 1 wide receiver. To Zach Miller, I like him at tight end, but right now he has a possibility of getting cut because of the tight end they drafted.
Yeah.
And I like the tight end they drafted. I think he's a good tight end. I think he can produce for them. So, I mean, their offense, it's going to be decent this year, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to... I mean, they have a really hard schedule this year, so I don't think it's going to be good enough to beat teams this year. I mean, I think they faced, like, the Jets once this year, and they faced, like, the Jags, and they faced, like, the Browns once. So, I mean, you have a few here and there that they could win, potentially, but I just don't see it happening.
Well, I mean, the Bears, I mean, if you look at it, they're going to be bad, but Zach Miller said they'd cut him. Why not keep them, train their rookie, and then trade him off mid-season when someone desperately needs them and get draft picks to help you in the season later?
I would like them to do that, but I've seen multiple reports right now saying that Zach Miller right now is actually fighting for a roster spot over these young guys. I don't really know why, because I liked him last year. I thought he was good.
He was good.
But right now there are multiple reports coming out saying that he's actually fighting for a roster spot, which is weird to me because you could easily have him, like what you just said, teach this young tight end, teach him his ways, and then maybe trade him off or just cut him halfway through the year. But he is a good tight end who is a serviceable tight end. You could actually do Meredith, Kevin White, if Kevin White's healthy, of course, and then put those two either blocking or send them out on routes, and it would be a perfect, I mean, can't say perfect because I mean...
Not perfect.
In my mind, the 2 perfect tight ends would be
in a perfect
him and
world for the Bears, he'd stay healthy.
Yeah.
I think is what you're trying to say.
Well, and Miller's a good blocker.
Yeah, Miller's a good blocker.
He can teach the young one blocking skills. I mean, not a lot of tight ends coming up. They're just fast.
Yeah.
They're fast and strong. They
More
know how to
tight ends
block.
nowadays are athletic and wide receiver-like.
Well, yeah,
than
they're big
blocking.
wide receivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. James, did you have something to say? Or? Oh, sorry. Okay. So my take on it is, like James did say, though, Mike Lennon hasn't really played in 2 to 3 years, kind of. So I still look at his film, and even when he was playing, he's solid, but he's nothing to the extent of the money they gave him. I think, when they signed him, I don't think their initial plan was to go after Mitch Trubisky. I think closer to the draft, they kind of said, hey, this guy, let's get him, And I keep saying this, but there must have been a reason why they traded up. The 49ers must have called them and said, kind of like threatened them almost, blackmailed them, and kind of said, hey, we're liking Mitch Trubisky here. If you want him, you're going to have to trade up. Because if they had think the 49ers was definitely not going to draft him, there would have been no point to trade up.
Well, they psyched everyone out, I feel like, because they kept saying that they're going to look at Mitch Trubisky. They were having meetings and, like, going out with him.
Yeah, I think the 49ers actually pulled a great smoke and mirrors. I think the 49ers the entire time didn't even watch Trubisky. I don't think it was in their mind at all. I think they knew that they could play the Bears.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, we want Mitch Trubisky. We're looking at him. We're bringing him for a meeting. I think they knew the entire time that they wanted Solomon Thomas.
Yeah.
And they knew that they could probably milk a trade with the Bears and got a good few picks out of him And then they took Solomon Thomas, the guy they wanted the entire time. So
I agree, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it just shows you they're looking for the future because John Fox even said that he didn't know who they were going to pick until the pick was announced. I mean, it just shows you that they're going to try to clean house, get rid of Fox, all these guys, and start fresh.
All right. Anything else on the Bears?
One more thing I want to say is that I loved Trubisky coming into the draft. He was my favorite quarterback coming into the draft out of all of them. Mahomes was a close second, but Trubisky was my favorite. So, two Bears fans that we are shitting on right now. I like Trubisky, and I think in the future he could be possibly a good quarterback. I think that he should not start this year at all. Unless Glennon gets hurt, he should be on the bench, learning from Glennon, learning the roots, learning how to be an NFL quarterback. Come in next year with that great O-line that you have. Maybe draft a good wide receiver in the draft. Jordan Howard is a great running back. If you maybe improve the defense a little bit, your team could be really good in the years to come. But you need to keep Trubisky in the back. That's all I wanted to say was I like Trubisky. Yeah. I like pieces on your team. Jordan Howard, he's a fantastic running back. And your O-line is fantastic. I think it's just your team right now is not good. And if you do go 2-14, draft a really good wide receiver and get some good parts for the defense, they could be that team that flips from 2-14 to like a 9-17 next year.
You also have to worry about if he goes in there, he can be like the Raiders QB that won from the
Derek Carr.
No.
Terrell Pryor.
Playoffs.
Connor
Cook.
He could have gone there, ruined his whole entire integrity.
Yeah.
And just don't want to play.
Well, I don't think he'll be making playoffs, but
they definitely. I get what you're saying.
I get
it. You don't want to destroy their confidence.
You don't want.
He's a rookie.
If Glennon gets hurt, you run the possibility of him facing a team when he's not ready.
Then he could get hurt, make a stupid decision, run out of the pocket, and get hit.
Yeah. And I think even though with all the pressure on the Rams with Jared Goff because he was the number one pick, even he could have used the whole season to set up.
Oh no,
he easily could have.
I believe Goff easily should have taken that entire season to set up. I believe they were like forcefully tried to start him because
he was the number one pick.
they were in the new stadium. He was the number one pick. They wanted to showcase what he could do. So I mean, they were trying to like show out, and it really probably hurt his
Fisher was on the hot seat, so he had to do something.
New city from last year. So, again, these are both new quarterbacks for the Bears. They have to experience with. Barkley and Hoyer went to the 49ers. So, both new quarterbacks they have to work with here. I think that's good to get some fresh quarterbacks in there. We're going to move on to the last team in this division, a team that made the playoffs last year, got out in the first round, but it was good to see a new team in the playoffs. So, the Detroit Lions, I have them going 9-7, and I thought they had a good draft with Davis and Tabor in the second round. I thought they had a good draft. They went on defense, which was a good thing there because I thought their defense struggled in the playoffs against the Seahawks. So to me, that was a struggle. They kind of went after those needs and they filled those needs. They definitely could get better, but filling them in with rookies, good idea to go defense. Like I've got them going 9-7. I don't think that. I mean, that was good enough for them to make wild card last year, but I don't see them slipping in again this year. If they go 10-6, which is a big possibility, I think they'll get in the wild card. I think that's kind of like a high for them, but I'm putting them still at 9-7 with just barely missing the wild card. I think there's other teams that are better that could go 10-6 and make the playoffs over them, which is good news for James. But again, I don't think any of these teams are going to compete with the Packers as much as the Lions will do. I think the Lions can split the series with them this year, the Green Bay Packers. But still, I think they go 9-7. I thought they had a very good draft, and I still think they have a good roster. Like we talked about, not complete roster-wise, but I think like their roster in terms of talent, not similarities, but I think they are pretty similar to a roster like the Ravens. Not like talent-based, but based on just how they will finish record-wise. I think they're stuck in mediocrity and will finish 9-7. So we'll go to Stanley on this one.
I have them 9-7. I mean, their wide receivers, I think, are Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. They're not that big wide receivers, but they catch the ball. They're fast. They run after the catch. They can avoid tackles.
Yeah.
I mean, Golden Tate, he's got a head on his shoulders, but he's a good dude on the field. But Matthew Stafford has a cannon of an arm.
Yep.
He whoops the ball in there. especially when they're fast wide receivers that can run and go.
Yeah.
I mean, the running backs is Zener.
Zach
Zener,
Zener, Abdullah, and Theo Riddick.
They're good running backs, but at the same time, they're receiving running backs. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're all passing lead.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense is but I feel like Matt Stafford's going to carry the team again and do what's needed to make them go 9-7.
And Zener got so much hate last year for being a white running back on social media and stuff like that. So
Well, Christian McCaffrey.
He played well.
Christian he did. I thought Zener played well for what he was left with. So, James.
Detroit Lions. I mean, I think last year they were very overrated. I say this because of one reason. They did go 9-7. I mean, they did compete with the Packers. Well, I got to give it to them. But you look at them; they had anywhere from 3 to 5 games where they won the game in the last second. One play doesn't go their way. They're 5-11, 4-12, and everybody's saying, "Well, what are we gonna do with Matt Stafford now? Is he gonna be released?" I mean, I did like their draft. They needed secondary. They addressed it. But, I mean, the really only big name I see in that defense is Darius Slay.
Yeah.
And Stafford I think he's kind of overrated.
He's over, okay.
I mean, he shouldn't be paid big money quarterback. He shouldn't get like a Derek Carr contract because his contract is expiring soon. So, yeah, I think they're going to be mediocre this year.
And what would have changed my opinion, personally, maybe put them at 10-6 or 11-5, was if they won that game last year late in the year against the Packers, almost eliminating the Packers from the playoffs had they won that game. The Packers beat them late in that year, which kind of showed me the Lions. I thought they were going, and they did. I kind of knew at that point they were going to lose that game against the Seahawks. Had they won that game, they would have had the bye week, right? No, maybe not the bye week. But I think
Giants.
I would have put them over the Seahawks at that point. But when they lost that game, you know, maybe even this year I would have changed my opinion on them as well. I would have put them back in the playoffs. That changed my opinion on them a lot when they lost that game. So, Eric?
So, I have them going 9-7. I'm on a different side of the spectrum. I like Matthew Stafford as quarterback.
Yeah,
I think he's a very good passing quarterback. Last year, he says it as a way of they won a couple games in the last few minutes. Matthew Stafford had the most comeback wins last year out of all the quarterbacks. He showed that when his team was down and they needed him, he came through and produced. I like the additions of Tez Tauber. I think that gives him a solid second cornerback beside Darius Slay.
Yep.
I like Golden Tate and Marvin Jones, and I love the pick of Kenny Golladay. He's a younger Anquan Boldin. That's why they got rid of him. Kenny Golladay is just the perfect fit there. I don't know if he will produce the numbers like Anquan did last year. There's no way he has like 8 touchdowns and stuff like that, but he's going to be a solid 3 for them. My only knock on them is that their O-line and running backs are kind of suspect. Their O-line let Matthew Stafford get hit a lot last year. He took a lot of sacks.
They did add T.J. Lang.
They did, and that is very good. But Amir Abdullah, he hasn't really proven to be a number 1 running back yet. He was hurt all last year, and the first year he was only kind of meh. And then Theo Riddick, I love Theo Riddick, but he's just I'd say a worse Danny Woodhead probably.
Yeah.
And then Zach Zener.
I thought he's a really good receiving back, though. I think him and Bilal Powell are pretty good receiving backs.
I would take Bilal Powell over Theo Riddick, but Theo Riddick, I think he's a good pass catcher. I think he's a great. He's just like Danny Woodhead, just a little worse. I think I'd take Bilal Powell over both of them. But to me, this team has a decent defense. They're going to be carried by how far Matthew Stafford can carry them, and I think again Matthew Stafford can carry them to a 9-7 record.
The other thing I'm going to say is I'm a big fan of Theo Riddick. Maybe not so much them, but I think he's like a guy who's really good at breaking tackles and getting the extra 3-4 yards there.
His juke moves are insane.
I really like his playing style. Anything else on the Lions or any of these teams? Or no, you can.
No.
James, go ahead.
No.
Okay, so it's more of a question about to the all NFL fan bases. Like last year when Stafford had that finger injury on his throwing hand, he dislocated a finger, and then he played like garbage down the stretch, and everybody was like making excuses for him. But the same thing happened to Carson Palmer back in the 2015 season against the Eagles. He dislocated his finger and played like garbage, and everybody was calling him like they wanted his head at the stake and all that. I mean, I just don't understand how you could like make excuses for one guy and then like slander another guy. I don't know.
To me, if you dislocate your finger in a game or you get hurt, I think that basically it's like a quarterback's main thing is they have to throw with you're using your hands to throw. So if you dislocate a finger, I mean that finger is out of use. So then basically if you're trying to throw the football, you're now throwing with probably 3 fingers on top, one's out. It mean you can't make the same throws. I mean, say you dislocate this finger, your pointer finger, and you then have to throw. You have to use that thing to throw and point.
Well, I feel like you could do it with your pinky because your pinky is.
I think if any finger gets dislocated,
Well, you'll be
Well,
off.
it's easier with the pinky.
you're a lot off.
You'll be
But
off.
you'd be-
Well, no. I mean, your pinky's the one that's like on the back of the ball or like on the front. I think any finger that gets dislocated will hurt you a lot.
Oh yeah.
So Matthew Stafford and Carson Palmer on both sides. I don't think either one of them should be knocked for playing terrible. I mean, none of us are NFL QBs.
No, yeah.
One,
What?
and two, you're playing with a dislocated finger against high caliber players. You can't throw all the same passes you were because it's dislocated. To me, you can't knock them for that. You can't knock either one of them for that. So, anything else? What did you want to say?
I was gonna say something about your Detroit Lions. Your
My Detroit Lions. I'm a Detroit
Anquan Boldin.
Anquan Boldin.
I don't think they should have gotten rid of him. They should have kept him there, drafted the
Kenny
rookie,
Galloway.
and have Anquan Boldin show him
The roots.
the roots. Like, I mean, when he was in the 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, even in the Detroit Lions, he caught the ball, took the hit, kept the ball in possession, got up. Didn't get really into someone's face, but he did most of the time when they talk crap about that huge hit. I think he was just a classy player. He took the hit, got up, celebrated because he took a huge hit and he held on to the ball. I feel like you should have kept Anquan Boldin there for the veteran experience of just catching the ball, keeping it in your hand, and just throwing dudes to the ground. I mean, Anquan Boldin was a strong wide receiver. I mean, he destroyed the 49ers in the Super Bowl by himself. He practically made Chris Culliver look like a little boy. He destroyed him out there.
I do agree with that. I believe a lot of teams should have done that. With the Baltimore Ravens, Thomas Dumerville, they should have kept him and kept him to teach Tyrese Bowser. I thought that I agree with that. Anquan Boldin, if they kept him, he could have taught Kenny Galloway.
He could have even helped Golden Tate and.
Yeah.
I mean, they drop passes sometimes. Anquan Boldin, sure hands.
He does have sure hands, and he knows how to take a hit. So I do agree with that. That maybe it was a money issue that they just couldn't. They just didn't want to pay him. But I do believe that they should have kept him. Anything else?
Well, this is just a quick thing. Do you think Detroit? I mean, they've had injuries with the running back position. Do you think they should look at somebody like Rashad Jennings, who's a free agent right now?
No, but what we said last episode, if you guys go and check the AFC North one, we talked about Jeremy Hill getting traded. Say Amir Abdullah gets hurt, that could be a place where they go out and try to grab Jeremy Hill if Joe Mixon does take over, like I believe he will, and Gio Bernard does prove that he's a good enough backup and pass catcher. If Amir Abdullah gets hurt again, do we think that Jeremy Hill could go to the Lions? Do you think that's a possible place he can go?
Yeah, if they don't, I think Rashad Jennings wants too much money. I mean, he fumbled a lot.
I don't like Rashad Jennings. I didn't like him when he came out of Jackson. Like everybody thought he was really good in Jacksonville.
He made a few big plays, and that's where he really got his name. But
so I believe that he wasn't ever anything big. And when he went to the Giants, I kind of knew he was gonna flop there because I didn't ever think he was anything really that good. So, other than that, anything else? Talked about Rashad Jennings, everything else. All right. Well, this has been the Football Fanatics. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. If you like what we're doing here, also answer any of the questions that we said here. If you believe that Carson Palmer did get a bad rep or anything like that. But thank you for watching, and bye-bye.